Hi all, welcome back to PES TV. Today we're looking at all things PGCE. We're very lucky we've got Cam Stewart with us today. Hi Cam, how are you doing?
Hi Nick, UK.
Cam, do you want to tell us just a little bit about your title and what you do within the PGCE at Cardiff Met?
Yeah, sure. So I'm the program leader for the secondary maths program, but I also look across all the IT programs with a kind of recruitment and retention hat on as well. So I get pretty heavily involved in the equivalency side of things too, from my maths angle. So yeah, hopefully I'll be able to answer a few questions on that as well today.
Awesome. Speaking to our students on primary ed studies, it tends to be the same questions that come up. I guess the first place to start would be when do PGCE applications open up? When can our students start to apply?
Yeah, it's actually been a little bit of a change, actually. We always used to have a sort of a postgraduate UCAS system, but speaking to our head of admissions recently, we've just switched to an undergraduate UCAS system. So to cut to the chase, September, October is when we start seeing those applications start to come through to us as tutors.
So, I mean, we were just chatting about this just before I started recording. So important for our students to start that process in year two over the summer, because as soon as you come back in September, you've got the PGCE application to do, but you're also going to have your third year where you've got your dissertation. So, as you were just saying off air, so important just to hit the ground running. There's only so many spots.
Yeah, it's a really competitive program. It's a fantastic program, but there are places that are limited. We are capped by Welsh Government numbers. So I would strongly suggest don't leave this till the last minute. Get the ball rolling as soon as possible. You can start writing your personal statement, can't you? You can start collating some of the things that you've done and some of your ideas, because it is very competitive. That being said, the best applicants will be offered places. So, start yourself nice and early, and we look forward to interviewing you, really.
Yeah, and we offer loads of support on the course. So obviously careers we work with on our placement module, so you can book a meeting with careers and they can actually tailor to a PGCE application. And if you start to think about it in year two, by the time it comes around to September, you've done quite a lot of work on it as well. So
yeah, I mean, just sort of building on that, you really want to be thinking about those sort of extracurricular, what else can you offer? It's great. So you've got your degree, that's fantastic, and you're interested in teaching, but what have you done? In interview, we'll be really keen to sort of look at what school experience you've got, what are your kind of driving, motivating factors, even if it's not necessarily school stuff. If we got people talking about their work in the Brownies and the Scouts and all that kind of stuff, all that sort of surrounding educational work. If you've been involved in that, tell us about it, talk to us about it. That's what will set you apart. It'll help you demonstrate that it's what you want to do. This is the career for you. So yeah, I would really start to get involved in some of those extracurricular activities if you possibly can at the earliest opportunity.
I'm smiling away because my students will be fed up of me saying, get involved with the extracurricular stuff. We're always putting on different things, school projects are going on. So yeah, just trying to demonstrate that, and especially within the 3 years that you've been in the degree as well. I mean, that's really, really important. If we talk a little bit about entry requirements.
Yeah, sure.
What's the entry requirements for
yeah, I mean, I'll obviously go through it and talk it through. I mean, doing a far better job than that would probably be looking on the Cardiff Partnership website. Just Google it. There's a drop-down tab, and it says entry requirements, and it's really detailed. So, on the back of this, go and have a look at it. But just to give you a kind of an overview, in terms of degree, we're looking at least a 2-2. Coming from a relevant degree, which would be perfect in this instance. It's normally the GCSE requirements that sort of cause the grief, if that makes sense. So we were just saying when we were ahead of this meeting, we can only sort of say what is the current situation. Then there may be changes in the future, but currently you are required to have a B grade in English literature. I'm just reading it now to make sure I get this right, because English language or Welsh, if that's your first language, and maths. Now, of course, we know there's two maths numeracy, maths, straight maths, so you can get a B in either of them, and a C in science. Now, that could change. We know Welsh Government are looking at, do we reduce that to a C, but currently it's a B grade. If you don't hit those entry requirements, there are other routes. I'm sure you guys are aware of the equivalency route that we offer through Cardiff Met, which is really good. There's a couple of caveats with that that's worth sort of me pointing out. One is that you can only access the equivalency in-house if you are one grade below what you require. So let me just use an example there. So you need your B in maths. You've got a C. That's the only thing that's going to cause you a problem. No problem. We'll take you onto our own equivalency, give you bucket loads of support, really, really narrow the spec down to kind of tell you what to revise and get you through. 95, 96% of people get through. So really, really high success rate. If you are more than a grade below, you would need to basically sort your equivalency out externally. Now, there is a company called GCSE equivalency.com or something along that, which you can look for it, which I wish I'd formed.
And I know a lot of our students go to Coleg y Cymoedd because we get discount there as well. So Coleg y Cymoedd is another really good option. So if you've got that D grade and you're 2 off or 2 below the B, that's what a number of our students have done. So yeah.
It's just worth, again, if you know that's the case, let's address this early doors, get it sorted, get the ball rolling as soon as we can. Because we know year on year, that's the one thing often that really catches people out.
Yeah, that's really good advice, because for our students, if you know you've got that D grade, rather than leave it till the third year, you've got time, especially in year 1 or year 2, to do some extra tuition, to resit that exam, and then you don't have to worry about it. By the time you apply, you'd have got that grade and you need to worry about it. So, so the equivalency tests, if you've got it 1 grade below, obviously use the Cardiff Met ones. If not, Coleg y Cymoedd or speak to me and I can talk to you about other options. Just
a quickie on that, just in case any of your students have got sort of friends and family who are sort of a couple of years ahead of them. We had to move to equivalency being in program for the last 2 years with COVID, which has been just really stressful for students and for staff. So as of next year and going forward, fingers crossed with COVID stuff, that we're back to pre-program. So it is an entry requirement before starting the PGCE.
Yeah, okay. Just in terms of the personal statement then, any tips on, you obviously mentioned about experience, you've talked a little bit about why you want to get into teaching. Any other tips on the personal statement, anything that they can include? And
from my experience, whenever I read a personal statement, I genuinely want to get a feeling that person wants to teach. I know that sounds daft, but it's not something they've fallen into because they sort of weren't entirely sure what else to do. I want to teach because, and these are the experiences that have shaped my decision, and don't play down any kind of experience really, even if it's just sort of working with a younger brother or sister and doing a bit of support work with them. That's okay. We know that the last 2 years have made it really difficult to get into schools, and as a result of that, we've had to kind of loosen our expectation around school experience. We would still like it, so if you can get into a school, please do, but we're realistic that the last 2 years have caused difficulty. And the other thing to think about in your personal statement is to really sell yourself. What makes you you. If I teach maths, fab, but there's a lot more to me than that, and there's a lot of things about my personality which I could maybe sell as a positive in teaching. So think about what makes you you, and just let that enthusiasm and that real interest for the career really come across.
Yeah, that's brilliant advice, and I'm smiling away because we have talked about this in sessions with students. Just bring yourself onto the page. We've talked about applications, and some of the examples they've shown me, a lot of students, it's quite formulaic and it's almost taken from the internet. Think about selling yourself. We're not so good at that as Welsh, British people, I don't think, but it's a competitive course. So think about what makes you stand out. And, a big part of it is, you've been through 3 years of an education course as well. And it's not to forget that, the fundamental theories surrounding education as well. So it's important to sell that.
Just one thing on the back of that. I mean, it's not a prerequisite, but it's always nice when somebody drops in something about some sort of current education. We're in such a period of change, aren't we, in education in Wales, with the new curriculum on the horizon. Just somebody mentioning or showing an awareness of that journey, I think would be really great as well.
And as students in the course, it, about reform. Exactly. Sell that. That's a huge selling point for you, that you know that. So definitely mention that. We've also mentioned things like to students about we're keeping a digital portfolio. We've set up blogs. We've set up. A lot of students have got social media, digital portfolios. Is that something potentially that would be helpful that you maybe want to see?
Yeah, definitely bring it along. Absolutely, it's coming back to anything that can sell you. I mean, in terms of having a sort of online social media presence, I keep telling my PGCE students, get yourself on Twitter. It's the best staff room that I was never in. And actually start to build a little bit of a profile for yourself and show off some of the fantastic things you're doing. And we both know that people can get jobs, from these sorts of platforms if used well and used professionally. So, yeah, absolutely, big fan of that. Anything that can sell yourself. We're in a 21st century now. Any sort of websites, anything that you've done digitally, to really kind of set yourself apart.
Yeah, that's really good advice. For year ones, year twos, starting out on the course, start to think about using social media as a bit of a repository. All the stuff we're doing in sessions, all the stuff we're doing with children, take pictures, start to keep it as that repository that you can show on PGCE, and then when you start to apply for jobs. Just moving on to... Sorry. Go on.
No, I was just going to say, it's just a useful thing, because obviously we have something called the PLP, which is a professional learning portfolio, which is where you sort of upload all your evidence. So the more you're getting into that way of thinking, it's only going to benefit you on the programme as well.
Okay. Just moving on to a bit about the course now. So obviously, we know there's a year long, so it's a postgraduate course. Can you just give us a bit of a flavour? Obviously, there's loads of information on the website. So anyone that's interested, obviously, there's loads more information there. But just in terms of what students can expect on the course, things like number of placements, teaching expectations, just a bit of a flavour really of what they can expect.
Yeah, absolutely, definitely. So, I mean, it's a year-long programme for the PGCE. We say a year-long. It's not actually technically 12 months, because you would start at September, and just looking at this year's now, by the time you're done in middle of June. So it's a year, but not a full calendar year really. In terms of the structure, you would have a period of induction in September, where you'd be primarily in university, and that would be getting you guys running on the ground, all the kind of theory that you probably started to accumulate already, but really reinforcing that. And then you're off into schools pretty quickly, 4 or 5 weeks in, you're off into your CP1, Clinical Practice 1, which is your first school placement. Give or take, it takes you up until about January. So as you imagine, we're talking now just before Christmas, so they're coming towards the end of their CP1 currently. Fridays will be your return days, which are great actually. They're those days where you can kind of breathe and come back and go, talk about all the good and bad things that you've seen and heard over the last week. So those are Fridays. Fingers crossed, as much of that in person as we possibly can get.
We used to live for the Friday when we did the PGCE. We used to live for the Friday, getting back together. It's just
yeah, exactly. It's just a time to just stop in there and just grab a coffee and sort of, talk to people who are living the same life as you, really, which is really cool. The second placement then obviously kicks off. I'm just looking at this now, so I get this right, sort of around about end of Jan time, so CP2. And that takes you all the way up then to May. There's a period of enrichment of a couple of weeks at the end, and that's people who have successfully passed the programme. They get a chance to kind of go off and do some lovely things in different educational settings if they want. And then the only aspect of the course I haven't mentioned is something called SLT days, which is nothing to do with leadership or management teams, which I first thought when I joined, is the school-led training days. So part of the training is delivered by Lead partnership schools, and those tend to happen on a Thursday. Not every week, maybe every other. So a typical week might be, once you're up and running, that you have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday in a school, You might have an SLT day on a Thursday, and you might have your home day in uni on a Friday. So that's kind of the structure, really.
That's a brilliant overview, and I think it's been really, really helpful for our students. I think some of the key messages are, really competitive. Start your application as early as you can. Meet with careers. Mel is really, really helpful there and can help with PGCE applications, and just start to think about selling yourself, like what makes you stand out.
Yeah.
And we've got some brilliant students who are going to make awesome teachers, but yeah, it's competitive out there.
It is, but your students have got to have a fantastic foundation, so sell that. You've got an awful lot to offer, and really sell that interview. And we very much look forward to working with you, hopefully in the PGCE in the future. Thank
you very much. I need to work on my background. You've got a really cool background there with guitars. I've just got, I don't even know what these are, drawers. Gav, thanks so much for your time.
Brilliant.
Thank you
Cheers,
so much.
Nick.
Cheers.